Randy's book is peeing.
Who's peeing?
Randy.
Oh, okay. We'll get to him last time. Okay, so let me start introducing the Fright Night panel. The writer and director, and you already are good friends with him, Tom Holland. Sarandon. The original Charlie Brewster, the non-douche version from the remake. This one I actually liked. That would be Ragsdale. He was right outside that door, I'm sure. Let him in. He's okay. There he is, Ragsdale. Okay. And Jonathan Stark, Billy Paul. Let's hear it for the evil head, Stephen Geoffreys right at the end there. And she played Amy, Bearse. Artists from the movie. Firstly, Steve Johnson. Come on down, Steve. We also have Bryan Wilson. Come on down, Mark. Last but not least, Randall. Wow. This is a cluster. It is a reunion, folks. Alright, so guys, we're actually going to do something a little different and interesting with this panel. I don't know if you guys knew, but we have a couple of clips from the movies queued up, mostly to do with effects and stuff that all you guys worked on. So they're actually going to run a clip, and then we'll stop and talk about it. And if anyone wants to ask anything, they can. But so this first one is Jerry and Charlie's room. All right. Now I have to tell this story really quick, but a couple years ago I actually saw Fright Night with Tom, and when that scene came up with the pencil, I just remember turning to him, I was like, how the hell did you guys do that thing with the pencil? And he said, damned if I remember. So, can you guys answer that question? Steve, the pencil guy.
I'll be happy to. There was a film called Excalibur a few years before this, and Lancelot gets stabbed. And in the same shot, he pulls out his cutlass. And I couldn't, and I'm supposed to be somewhat of an expert with this, right? But you see the blade go in. You see him roll over, and you see the tip. And then he pulls it out. I'm like, how the hell do they do this? And and I watched it over and over and over. And I thought, okay, it has to be a collapsible blade. There's a tip already coming out the other side. He rolls over for a second. The spring-wound thing comes out, and there's a monofilament pulling the other thing out. And so, yeah. So I'm like, okay, let's do this, Tom. Let's do this with this. It's like all one shot. Pencil goes in, turns the hand over. You see it's sticking out, all in one shot. How amazing! So we go into the editing room. And Tom had cut a reaction in the middle of it, ruined the entire shot. It's like you could have done it so much more easily, but I noticed we put it back in, so that's how we did it. Collapsible and a monofilament, yanking it off, and it was slightly off camera.
All right. And Chris and Lynn, can you talk a little bit about that scene? And I mean, how difficult was the makeup process for you, Chris? Obviously, it was in 3 stages right there.
Is this? Yes, it is. It's live. I'm live in Burbank. The makeup was always excruciating because the process was not nearly as advanced as it is now. No CGI. It was actually, we did basically simple just turnaways and turn backs, and you saw the transformation happen sort of piece by piece. But the makeup itself, except for the end of the movie, the last vampire, the Nosferatu vampire, which took 8 hours. that one took, I think, about 4 or 5 hours, and then we'd go to work.
Lynn, do you want to comment on this scene at all? When was the last time you saw this?
The new art, the screening, the new art, yeah, I need 2, please. The screening at the New Art 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. 4? No, really? Hey. Which was, you know, nice. Before I was mostly, you know, the straight guy in that clip, but the only thing I remember is my foot was broken at that point. So the feet kicking the Chinese pinball machine are not my feet; those are stunt feet. So
Yeah, actually, they were my feet.
yeah, similar feet, but.
And the scene itself was actually interesting because Tom had this, I mean, the first time I met Tom was in LA in the producer's office. And Tom literally talked the whole movie through, shot by shot. And he had it all in his head. He knew exactly how he was going to shoot it. And the scene basically was shot the way Tom described it to me that first time we met. Literally every cut was just as he had envisioned it in his head. And it was a pretty complicated scene to shoot. The stunt, the flip, the, you know, pulling you up and pulling you across the floor on the little furniture dolly. Yeah. So, anyway, it was a fun scene to shoot.
What was there was when the picture goes onto the stake, onto the picket fence thing, did that take like 4 or 5 days or something for it to actually work?
That was an insert shot, and that was the cinematographer Jen Keyser's idea.
Oh, okay.
Because we broke it. I was afraid we'd be there for 3 or 4 hours. We broke it out to a second insert unit.
Oh, okay.
Our next clip is actually when Jerry meets all the kids. This is just a good showcase of all the actors in the movie. So let's roll the second clip from Fright Night. All right. So yeah, that's a cool scene because you get to meet everybody literally in that scene. And there's a great photograph of all you guys on set with Roddy and Tom from that day. So for the actors, can you talk a little bit about that scene, working together for the first time? Well, I know Amanda and Steven, you had done Fraternity Vacation right before this, right?
Yes, that's a charming film. I think I was the only one to keep my clothes on. Yeah. What I remember about that scene is about the apple. Because I remember the discussion between Chris, the fruit, and you wanted to eat that. I remember that conversation between you and Tom. Because it made it human and more casual.
Also, bats are not all vampire bats. There are.
Right. No, I knew that, yes. Got
So Jerry had a lot of fruit bat in his DNA.
It wasn't difficult to play opposite Chris because he's quite charming and handsome, and when he looks at you like that, all you have to do is look back.
Ditto, baby.
For Steven or William, any memories of that, or in particular working with Roddy?
I don't know. I think in that particular scene, if I can recall, my blood sugar was like really high or something, and I think I was in a really bad mood. But it looked good.
It looked really hyped up, dude.
Yeah.
Wait, anything to that?
It just recollections of Roddy, which are, I think for all of us, bittersweet because we got to work with one of the extraordinary figures in Hollywood history, Roddy McDowell. Who was not only a consummate professional, but also was a kind of, if you want, kind of Yoda on the set, in the sense that he was the eminence of us all, really, including Tom, if I may say so, because he was this great repository of the history of movie making, and he was very generous in his sharing it with us. Great stories, and the sort of person who, wherever you were, no matter how many years down the road, if it was your birthday and he was in Prague, you got a postcard from Ronnie. That was the sort of film he was.
Okay, so the next clip is actually Peter Vincent confronting Evil Ed in his apartment for the first time. So that image of Evil Ed is pretty iconic. I mean, I remember seeing it on old VHS covers of Fright Night and Fangoria T-shirts and all. So for our effects guys, Mark, Randy, and Steve, can you talk a little bit about the design of Evil Ed and all the designs of the movie?
Well, you know what? This was one of the first times since Nosferatu that Tom came up with the concept that vampires should physically transform. And that was an amazing, and now they transform constantly. They glow, they do anything you want, but it was an amazing concept back then. And what we really wanted to do is we wanted to do a lot of it through their eyes. So the contact lenses were one of the biggest parts. And yeah, let me just tell you about that. Rick Baker taught me back on American Werewolf that, you know, the eyes, however you do them, however you create these contact lenses, they've got to be as bright as possible. They've got to be fluorescent so the film picks it up. And Rick would make his own contact lenses. He would have a doctor do a hard plastic shell that covered the entire eye, the white part and everything, dark green spoon. And he goes, well, paint them like this, paint them with fluorescent paint, and then spray Krylon crystal clear. Basically, just a sealer, spray paint. You get the hardware store, right? This is how he taught me to do this. So I'm like, all right, Rick. When I got my opportunity through Richard Edlund, by the way, who ran Boss Film Company, and he was the guy that let us all have this playground to create these amazing effects, optically and physically. But I said, okay, Rick, fluorescent paint, huh? I'll one-up you on that. I'm going to use iridescent powders, and, I'm sorry, glitter. Glitter. I actually put glitter on top of the paint and then just sprayed the Holy Christ out with layer upon layer upon layer of Krylon. And it got to the point where they were getting thicker and thicker and thicker, and I'd be on my way to Fox. I'm like, they're not dry yet, they're not dry yet. I got this scene with Steven, and it's going to blind it. And so I remember sitting in my car, almost at the point of tears, when these lenses aren't dry, these killing devices, and I go, okay, I can't do this to Steven. I'll put it in my eye first, just to see if it blinds me. And I sat there in the rearview mirror looking, and I was like, oh, fuck! It's almost ready, it's almost ready. All right, you're on that. So it was a lot about the eyes, it was a lot about the prosthetics. I need everything to...
No, it's just, I think, you know, the cross thing is something we, you know, I remember we decided, some of us did, that it should disappear when he dies, right? I'm not sure what the scientific basis for that would be, but that's what happens, you know. And we thought, oh, that's a good idea, you know. And then, of course, years later, I saw it in a Chris Lee picture, same thing. So nothing's new. But I think Steve Neal did that one, sculpted that one, right? You know, we had a whole big platoon of effects people and sculptors on it.
But you know, one of the cool things about that is when we did it, it didn't disappear. Our effect failed miserably. So one of the great things about working at Richard Edlund's place is they went in and optically helped it along. So long before the days of digital, it was still possible.
I have a fond memory about the contact lenses because I had 3 sets made for me, and one set wasn't buffed.
I see 2 eyes.
Yeah. But I was like, then I think this was my second set, so I'd already had one in, and so I thought, okay, and then I thought, this just doesn't feel the same. And I said, oh man, it's gonna hurt. But I'm trying to be brave, and then, you know, and then finally I just said, I not only, we couldn't see out of them, right? It was just like a pinhole. But then finally, I think you took them out, or Kenny Diaz took them out, and oh yeah, let's buff that back a little bit.
I wanted to just quickly too, the scene where I'm going up the stairs after I've had the steak and falling down the stairs and all that. They had 2 sets of those things in my eyes, and I literally could not see a thing. So I'd start up the stairs and I'd trip, and then I'd come back and they'd, let's do it again. I'd start up the stairs and trip, and Tom finally said, take one out. So there is one weird eye, but I have my regular eye too.
You couldn't keep them in for more than, I don't know, I lasted about 20 minutes, maybe. They were awful.
Yeah, except that scene with the Raggedy Ann wig, I think that went on a little more than 40 minutes, and my eyes were scratched for months after the film wrapped, so.
Mine's still on.
But you know, it was worth it.
You're on t-shirts now, man.
Tell them about the saliva that some of us put in you. Because he was transforming back. Oh yes, he does. Because I told him. No, I told him. I think on the last commentary we did. Basically, it was and technicians who will be nameless. We were working really quick to get him to transform back from a werewolf, right? As you do. And he had a half werewolf mask that Steve had overseen and sculpted, and we were all getting in there, pouring stuff on it, and Steve poured some stuff on this one fake eye there, some of this methicillin, which is methicellulose, which is used in, KY, it's like KY. And then he said, let's get some in the mouth too, some drool, And he's pouring it in there, and Steve's saying, "This tastes awful," and Steve says, "Don't worry about it. That's what they use in donuts."
Doesn't taste like any donuts I've ever had.
And as the lips start to stick together, because it was prosthetic adhesive, So let's get this taken.
They make the same mistake in the Three Stooges on a daily basis. I'm sorry.
Wow. Yeah, but that scene was just like, oh yeah, by that time I was like numb. I mean, sitting in the chair with you guys putting your hands and stuff, it was almost inhumane.
That half werewolf makeup, I think, is the longest makeup I've ever been. It's like 18 hours.
Yeah.
Seriously, yeah.
Is that? Yeah. See, I thought I kept trying to remember how long it was, and I tell people, I don't know, 13 hours, but yeah, 18. Wow.
No, and you're really cool about it, and then your character in that movie, it just goes down in history. Don't you guys think it's amazing?
You guys, I mean, it really was worth it. I mean, once you were finished and I saw myself how I looked, I mean, it was just, it was fun at that point.
It wasn't.
No, it was. I mean, because when I first got the script for this, I thought, they sent me the script when I was with Amanda and Hofstra. I thought I was going to play his part, and I thought, well, that's a cute little. But then they wanted me for this weird guy named Evelyn. I'm like, are you kidding? Where do you see that? But seriously, I was convinced that's the part that they wanted me to, because I've been playing, pretty wholesome kind of parts up to that point. But and then it was it was kind of a challenge, but with all the talent involved, it was fun. It was easy.
Well, it's really new because I've worked on both The Howling and American Werewolf, and both of those transformations were really symmetrical. And what Tom and I came up with on this, and Randy, was to do it asymmetrically, and not only have one part of your face change, one arm change at a different rate of speed, but have the techniques, when you cut to the insert shots, be different techniques. So it was a really fun transformation, actually. Just Tom let us do it.
It was all their idea.
And really quickly before we run this next clip, Randy mentioned a commentary that they did. I had talked to Tom, and because Sony, for whatever reason, will never do a special edition of Fright Night, we recorded 2 commentaries completely on our own and put them on Icons of Fright for free. So if you haven't heard them, go on iconsoffright.com and download. It's with this half and then that half. But they're great commentaries as a gift for you fans, since Sony won't do it. So the next clip is the scene on the stairway. Welcome to Fright Night for real. All right. So for Chris and Jonathan, do you guys want to talk a little bit about your relationship there in the movie, or how you guys interpreted it?
They cut out all the bedroom scenes, so. I don't know.
You lost my boyfriend!
We didn't really discuss it. It was really just sort of Tom's conception that this was a sort of strange kind of duo that operated together in a kind of, strange, bizarre way. I didn't have any sense of it as being anything other than Renfield, and yeah, very good, thank you.
Well, we were actually lucky enough to have 2 weeks of rehearsal before we even shot a frame, which I don't think any film has anymore. And it was really great because Chris and I talked a lot about our characters. We talked about the relationship, you know, very vaguely, but it was incredibly helpful. And Tom had everything taped off on all the sets. We were on some big stage on Culver Studios, and he had everything taped off so we knew where we were going and everything. It was really quite a treat to be able to have that.
Yeah, and I think there was I don't want to dodge this, but I think there was a sort of asexual quality to the relationship that was sort of borderline homoerotic, but not in the sense that it was creepy, right? The relationship between Jerry and
Romance.
Well, there's nothing wrong with 2 middle-aged bachelors living in a house together.
Well, Jonathan, I remember you telling a story about the scene where you're cleaning his hand, and then Tom had told you, you know,
Oh yeah,
clean his hand.
Yeah, I was cleaning, you know, the part where he's looking through the window at Charlie, and you know, I'm cleaning his hand. He said, "No, get down on your knees." Okay, Tom. Then when I saw it, I thought, oh, okay.
Okay, the next scene is actually one of the most famous ones that he's
Can I
got.
ask
Great.
a question of the effects guy? I don't remember how the nail on the banister thing was done, the spiraling finish.
I think that, well, that was the set team that did it, and I think it was just wax. It was,
That was wax.
Wax, colored wax.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a really good idea though, it showed a lot. You know,
That's one of the ones we made up on the way, like, like Amy's mouth.
Don't start. Don't start. You know, all the fingers, did you notice he's got long fingers? I think there's another vampire movie coming out with another guy that's got long fingers recently, called Dark Shadows. Same finger extensions, exactly.
I wish
Barlow's Genius Steel.
I wish him luck when he tries to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, like Tom, you want to talk to Randy? I think both of you should discuss Amy's mouth.
We're actually going to show that clip.
Oh, then we have something to look forward to.
Yeah. But right now we're going to watch the Evil Ed red wig and wolf change scene. All right. So, you two guys, explain please. How did you guys do all that?
Mark, let's know.
Hi,
I forgot, Mark.
Yeah, one of my
Ladies and gentlemen.
specialties is puppetry. So the wolf you're actually looking at on the ground has very little mechanism. It's very hinge jointed and kind of a big floppy toy. So all of the puppetry on that was lines that were run counter to each other. So there'd be one person on one set with a little piece of dowel, and the wire would run to the foot, and somebody would be on the other side. So some of it we would pull in under the staircase, but there was always somebody pulling tension. So in order for the head to rise, you had to work with your buddy across the set. So there's very little mechanism. It's probably door hinges from the hardware store and PVC pipes and dowel, fiberglass skull and stuff to hold it all together on this wolf pelt that made it into this character, into this puppet. It's a puppet being operated by about 10 different people, I think, in order to get it to happen, because that was the quickest way to get it to set. You know, without having all these cables and umbilical cords that came off the back. It's very simple.
There were 10 people down underneath?
Well, just for that shot, I think that was that on set?
Yeah, no, I think what we're talking about is the actual, the wolf puppet after it falls up the stairs, before your transformation. And I think we should all take a moment to give thanks to the coyote that gave his life for the skin there, because that's a real skin.
The casting session for that was somebody pulled up, and we had the auditioning animals in the back of the trunk. You tell them in the car, they went to a rendering plant, you know, like a glue factory basically. They said, oh, we'll take that one, and that one. What do you think, guys? And it was just like, whatever, they're all good. Oh. But they were already dead when we got them, so it wasn't like they stopped.
And what were some of the other tricks in there? Some reverse photography? Or
Yeah, I know that. The thing that I'm most proud about on that one is I actually came up with that concept, the close-up of the hand, again, because there was no rhyme or reason.
The hair dryer, and then you shot it and ran it backwards. Yes.
Exactly, but it was a little bit more complicated that time. We had tendons that pulled off, and we...
It was a couple of hair hair dryers, and they melted it, and then they ran it backwards.
And this is why I'm so proud. That really was it. I came up with that in a drug-induced stupor in a hotel room in San Diego, actually. And Dick Smith couldn't even figure out how it was done. So yes, a couple of hair dryers. No, but the thing that was fun about the transformation I said earlier is it was every effect was kind of handled differently. Some of them were very, very American Werewolf. The foot transforming, except in American Werewolf, we extended, and this one he was transforming back into a human, so we let it go.
Yeah, what you have going on there for an overview, and it does forget being egotistical at this point, but you have a series of well-designed, just very, very well-structured dramatic moments that take both players and effects working. And you have the performers delivering in spades, and then the effects are really terrific to back it up. And it's everything working well together is really what it is. You're looking at an extended sequence that must have used 4, 5, 6 major effects on the way, and yet look at Roddy McDowell working it, for God's sakes. You know, as he's dying. I mean, you know, you're also watching terrific acting.
And also the work and the work done by Stephen up to that point, which is essentially to create a character that is so sympathetic that you're watching this creature die before your eyes, and you're rotted. You're feeling the same thing that Roddy, the audience, is feeling the same thing Roddy's feeling. But it's because you've invested emotionally in this character in Evil Ed.
Yeah, the acting is making the effects work. The effects are making the acting work, and it's a balance. It isn't one or the other, you know, and that's what makes it so damn unique, really.
And I wonder, Tom, if you directed this film today, how that sequence might be handled. Oh, I don't know. You know what I mean? If it was done digitally, it would change the entire pacing and the emotion behind it and everything.
Yeah,
Sorry,
the actors had to stretch it out. What you basically had in those days, and especially now, is you were looking. If you had to, you did the transitions with cuts. If you had to, but like the pencil in the hand he's talking about, eventually you have to have the hey ma, no hands shot. You got to be able to see the transition on screen with no cuts, and that's what sells the rest of it. And depending on how long you're going, you need 2 or 3 good ones. And that's what you've got going on here. You've got a few shots that didn't work, you know. But they're not. They're not yours. They're Richard Edlund's. They're the shot when Chris is over her, when the mother is in bed turning, and then Chris walks out of the room. And he does not throw a reflection in the mirror behind him. But the shot is framed very widely. I can't remember why I didn't have any close on it, but it doesn't really work. And that was a very big optical shot at the time. So, you know, so there are a few misses in there too, along with it. But, you know, but the vast majority works so well, both optical and the practical effects.
They do, and you know, one of my favorite shots, the shot you came up with, I couldn't understand in the storyboards when you were planning it, is the shot where Charlie's looking out the window and the whole house zoomed up. How'd you come up with that? Because that's crazy. It was great.
I'll translate. I don't remember.
When Charlie's looking out the window and the entire house next door zooms up.
Oh well, that's a variation in the famous Hitchcock shot. That's you know looking down the church. Give me like zoom in, pull out, and it's a variation on that. And I can't remember what the variation was now. But that's what I'm echoing.
Tom, just out of curiosity, obviously from the conversations we have, you're a big fan of these genre movies. You just mentioned Hitchcock. This obviously has a lot of Rear Window in it. So what were some of the influences you were kind of pulling into when you kind of created the story? Because it definitely to me seems like your most personal movie.
Well, I mean, a lot of it was me when I was a kid growing up, because I was a fan back when there weren't fans. And it's a homage in a way to, to Hammer and AIP, which by then, when I did that, had fallen out of favor. You know, I mean, Halloween was 78, I guess, and you know, and it really was. Everybody was a slasher and a ski mask, and they didn't do vampire films anymore because they were so old-fashioned. Hard to believe right now. Yeah, but you're probably at the tail end of the vampire cycle. You're probably watching that die now. Anyway, in 1984, you've been 4 or 5 years since the vampire movie, and they have been disaster.
And they were making fun of the genre at the time.
Nobody took vampires seriously. So.
Okay. Okay, so the next one is the infamous Stark Melt, which we had referenced before. So look at his eyes. Maybe we can catch a shot here. So would you guys like to discuss kind of what went into that? And I mean, I think everyone's always wondered exactly what Billy Cole is, because he's out in sunlight. I always thought he was kind of a ghoul of some sort. I mean, do you guys have any theories?
He's a goblin.
He's a goblin? Heard from Steve. But anyway, could you guys talk a little bit about orchestrating that whole
I think Bryan and I learned a lot about how not to do things
Yeah.
on that sequence, because I think back in those days we were kind of rock star makeup effects guys. We're like, we're going to make this thing. It's going to be the best melting yet. To hell with Raiders of the Lost Ark. We're going to do this better with more colors, more shots. But there's a whole sequence built around it, right? And we have to remember something that we didn't. With our effect would only be cut 2 at certain times, but we made this one head that we could melt with hair dryers. And it did all of these things, but ultimately in the cut, we probably would have been better off making separate heads that could have been controlled a little better.
And maybe a body.
Maybe a body instead of just the goop coming down. One of the things that was great, though, about working with Richard Evans, again, I can't say this enough, is that it gave us an entirely new toolbox, because the shot where you see Billy Bones' head melting and both hands, we were able to shoot those as 3 separate elements. Now, one hand was done one way, it was a meltable hand with hair dryers. The other one was, Teresa, are you here? Teresa Burkett's here in the audience somewhere, and she was wearing a hand appliance on her palm that was sculpted to look like the back of the hand, so when she did this, it looked as though the hand was, yeah, and that was shot as another element. Then, of course, the head was the third element. We never could have orchestrated all. It would have taken 75 people and nothing would have worked. But we were able to do it at Richard's place in 3 separate pieces.
Well, we did that. I wasn't even. They shot a plate in the background, and then I went to a place in Santa Monica, it's a warehouse, and was there all day with these things with blood and the green goop and everything, and this carob syrup, and it was sticking to me, and it was about, like, I guess, 9 o'clock at night. I said, and then, oh, it's a wrap, great, okay, so where can I shower? Oh, everything's broken, man. Are you kidding me? I've got to drive home like this? I look exactly like that in the end. And I'm driving home in my car on Santa Monica freeway, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to get gas. So I go in, and I'm standing at the self-service thing pumping this gas, and this guy comes out and he ran back in the place and got on the phone. I don't know what he was calling or who he was calling, but I took off, that was it. And then the other one was, as soon as they shoved that thing in my chest, it was like, lunch! So try going through a cafeteria line with that.
When did we talk about Amanda's tits?
Hold them up for those in the back.
Are those the real ones?
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
I'm moving, and I found these in my garage. Right before I came. They've been in the See's candy box for 27 years. And, we couldn't do like a Castaway where you shut down production and I go grow boobs. When Amy becomes more voluptuous. So I went to some warehouse somewhere in the middle of nowhere and at 4 in the morning and had, I think, 3 guys slapping plaster of Paris on my chest, and lo and behold, this is what they made for me. So this is the final transformation before the horror transformation of boobs that I got to wear, and I was, I guess, gifted them. So I brought them, and we're actually having a little silent auction. It's going quite well. For anybody who wants to cop a feel.
Were those screen used? Were those the ones you wore?
Yeah. And they're still together.
Did you have to go get gas after the scene?
So come by my table and, you know, give it a squeeze. They feel great though. They feel really soft, and apparently somebody stopped by and said, gentle. But somebody said that sometimes this stuff disintegrates or, you know, kind of falls apart, but it was in a plastic bag.
See's
And,
candy packs well.
well, they don't make this See's candy box anymore. But anyway, just thought I'd bring show and tell.
All right, we only have a couple of minutes left here, so why don't we take a few questions from the audience if anybody has anything they'd like to ask. Don't be shy, we're all friends.
What were you going to say about my mouth, by the way?
Oh yeah, because we're about to run out of time, so that was the last clip was her mouth. So would you guys like to discuss that?
Tom, you want to step outside and talk about this?
Well, no, we were blocking it out, and all of a sudden there was that moment when she turned, and I saw that if I could have her turn with something that was really horrifying, that it was the moment to kick it. And you know, and I knew what most guys would think was the most horrifying thing in the world was, and I asked him to create it overnight. That's what happened. And then I told him also I wouldn't move or something, or I wouldn't shoot a close-up on.
Oh, I think what he
Or
said.
would only work
just
for
a
2
couple of
seconds.
frames.
Yeah.
Just a couple of seconds. That's all. And you know, and this is one of those things where we were really enjoying working on this film and loving working with Tom and everybody else. And this was sort of an under the table thing. I mean, it was Edlin's studio, you know, and I was an employee there. But Tom said, "Can you give her a sharp mouth? It'll only be on for a couple of seconds, but it'll be really horrifying." Well, a couple of seconds, you know, because it's Monday and it's Friday now. We got to. So anyway, took the cast we had of Amanda and sculpted these snotty goddamn teeth, and really bad, you know, real quick, very rough. And then the mouth appliance on top of them. And we gave it to Tom. And this thing showed up for a full reel, and then it showed up on the poster.
The one sheet.
Somebody came to me and said, "Have you seen the one sheet yet?" And I said, "Yeah, I haven't. What is it?" He said, "It looks great. It's Amy as a vampire." I said, "Oh, you know, come on, and no way." And it is, and it looks better on the.
She walked around the lot for a week wearing this thing, and Tom wouldn't talk to me the entire week. I was so angry because I thought it would be this static mouth. But look, they even revisited it in the sequel.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh dear. She had, and Amanda had a very wicked imitation she did wearing this thing. Do you remember that? We're not going to. I'll tell you about it. You dress up in this mouth, and you felt that it looked like a certain celebrity, and you imitated that celebrity. And I'm not going to name that celebrity. We'll talk about that afterwards. No, it's bad, horribly bad taste.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah.
All right, before we wrap, any quick questions in the audience from anybody?
I'll tell you.
There's a hand in the back. Go ahead.
At the end of Fright Night, you hear people laugh. Did you want to bring them back for Fright Night too?
Did you hear that, Tom? At the end of the first Fright Night, you hear Evelyn laughing. The last shot.
So cool, Brewster.
Did you want him to bring him back for a sequel?
It never entered my mind. I don't think. What it was is I looked at the ending and it didn't have a punch. The tag didn't work. It needed something. And there was that great one-liner, and I think he did it in the Johnny Rockets, you know. And I didn't think that "You're So Cool, Brewster" would turn into an iconic line, but he read it so well. And when I put it over the image and I had the end of the film, it was a happy accident.
All right, anybody else in the audience? We have time for like 2 questions. There you go, right here.
What's the most positive impact the film's had on you guys' lives?
most positive impact on your lives?
That we're all here together now.
I agree. 27 years later.
I mean, on a personal level, actually, as far as I'm concerned, because I stay in touch with these guys, and it's great. We get along really well. And whenever I'm in town or they're, whatever, you know, when we do one of these, we get a chance to hang out, which is great.
Making the film was a wonderful experience. We were too young to appreciate it, but it was. I mean, it was. We all knew we were doing good work. I mean, it worked at every level, and we were blessed.
You know, to wrap up, do you guys want to talk about what you're working on now? If there's anything you're looking forward to, anything you're excited about? I mean, I know Tom has a new little web series he's working on. Steve's got a book. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, everybody. I'm doing Tom Holland's Twisted Tales, and it's on FearNet, and we're shooting it right now, and we'll debut before July 6th. So as quick as I can get them out, in fact. So please keep an eye out. Thank you.
I not just finished, but there's a movie with Jason Statham that's coming out April 27th called Safe. Well, I play a bad guy in. What else is new? And I did an independent feature that'll probably be out sometime next year. I don't know what's the name of it's going to be, but anyway.
And I guess I better say, for the sake of my employers, that I'm finishing up as animation director on The Amazing Spider-Man.
3 Oscars for visual effects, ladies and gentlemen. They cut you off at 3. You can't get more.
Yeah, I just wanted to say nothing.
We're elaborating on that.
We've started a company.
Well, I've been behind the camera for 20 years, and it's a comfortable place, and now I'm at the Disney Channel.
I ran New York City Marathon last year under 4 hours, and I'm hanging out at the Hay-Dash Bar in San Francisco, so come by and say hi.
Steve, do you want to talk about what you're up to?
Me?
Steve wrote a book, a memoir, which I was lucky enough to take a peek at, and it's a pretty amazing, wonderful, beautiful, bittersweet read.
Well, I kind of approach writing like I approach makeup effects, and yeah, it's a lot of people think they have a book in them, but I think maybe I do. You've read most of it, I think, and it's a wild ride. I think I'm going to have to make a lot of apologies to David Naughton tomorrow because there's a pretty incriminating chapter.
So yeah, look for that. Everyone, thank you so much. Thanks to Monsterpalooza. Thanks to you guys for coming out.
All right, next up, ladies and gentlemen, at 4:30 is a panel on Jack Bearse and Universal Studios Monsters, John Murray, Jeff Hurdle,